The Tigray War represents far more than a simple regional conflict. It is a profound testament to the intricate and deeply rooted ethnic, political, and historical tensions that have long characterized Ethiopian society. Spanning from November 2020 to November 2022, this war emerged as one of the most devastating and complex conflicts in contemporary African history, revealing the fragile nature of national unity and the destructive potential of unresolved political grievances. To comprehend the Tigray War, one must delve deep into the historical tapestry of Ethiopian political dynamics. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, had been a dominant political force for nearly 3 decades, wielding disproportionate power within the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF. Despite Tigrayans representing merely 6% of Ethiopia's population, the ethnic group had maintained a stranglehold on national political machinery from 1991 to 2018. This political dominance was not merely a matter of numerical representation, but a complex legacy of revolutionary struggle. The TPLF emerged as a powerful guerrilla movement during the resistance against the Derg regime, a brutal communist military government that had ruled Ethiopia with extreme repression. Their revolutionary credentials and strategic brilliance had allowed them to become the most influential component of the multi-ethnic coalition that overthrew the Derg in 1991. The political landscape underwent a seismic shift with the emergence of Abiy Ahmed in 2018. As a reformist from the Oromo ethnic group, Abiy represented a radical departure from the previous political establishment. His vision was to dismantle the entrenched political networks that had long favored the TPLF and create a more inclusive national political structure. Abiy's reforms were simultaneously celebrated and contested. He dissolved the existing EPRDF, formed a new Prosperity Party, and systematically marginalized TPLF leaders who had previously occupied key government and military positions. These actions were perceived differently across Ethiopia. To some, they represented a necessary political recalibration. To the TPLF, they were an existential threat. The immediate triggers of the war were complex and multifaceted. In September 2020, amid the global COVID-19 pandemic, the TPLF made a provocative move by conducting regional elections in Tigray, directly defying the federal government's decision to postpone national elections. This act was more than a procedural disagreement. It was a fundamental challenge to the central government's authority. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed responded by declaring these elections illegal, transforming what had been simmering political tensions into an open confrontation. The situation rapidly deteriorated, with both sides engaging in increasingly inflammatory rhetoric and military preparations. On November 4th, 2020, the conflict erupted into full-scale war when Abiy Ahmed launched a military offensive against the TPLF. The official narrative presented this as a preemptive strike, with allegations that Tigrayan forces had attacked federal military bases. However, the reality was far more nuanced, reflecting years of accumulated political grievances and ethnic tensions. The conflict quickly evolved into a multi-dimensional war involving Ethiopian federal troops, Tigrayan fighters, Eritrean military forces, and various ethnic militias. Each group brought its own complex motivations, historical grievances, and strategic objectives to the battlefield. The human cost of the Tigray War was nothing short of catastrophic. Scholarly estimates suggest that between 385,000 to 600,000 people lost their lives, with the majority dying not from direct combat, but from the cascading effects of conflict, disease, malnutrition, and the systematic destruction of essential infrastructure. The war was characterized by egregious human rights violations that shocked the international community. Sexual violence was weaponized as a tool of war, with numerous documented cases of mass rape and sexual assault. Civilian populations were deliberately targeted, agricultural systems were intentionally disrupted, and humanitarian aid was systematically blocked, creating conditions of engineered famine. The international community's response was marked by initial shock, followed by diplomatic efforts to mediate the conflict. However, these efforts were often hampered by the complex geopolitical landscape of the Horn of Africa, where regional powers had their own strategic interests. The involvement of Eritrean troops, who fought alongside Ethiopian federal forces against the TPLF, added another layer of complexity to the conflict. This intervention was particularly significant given the historical animosity between Eritrea and the TPLF, stemming from the brutal border war between 1998 and 2000. The conflict officially concluded with a peace agreement signed in Pretoria, South Africa, on November 2, 2022. The agreement called for an immediate cessation of hostilities, disarmament of Tigrayan forces, restoration of federal government services in Tigray, and humanitarian access to the region. However, peace on paper does not immediately translate to peace on the ground. The war has left deep psychological scars, destroyed critical infrastructure, and created generational trauma that will take decades to heal. The Tigray War has profound implications that extend far beyond the immediate conflict zone. It has exposed the fragility of Ethiopia's ethnic federalist system, challenged the narrative of national unity, and raised critical questions about the nature of political representation in a multi-ethnic state. The economic devastation is immense. Entire agricultural systems have been destroyed, urban infrastructure lies in ruins, and the human capital loss is incalculable. The conflict has also significantly damaged Ethiopia's international reputation and its economic prospects. The Tigray War stands as a somber reminder of how quickly political disagreements can escalate into humanitarian catastrophes. It demonstrates the destructive potential of unresolved ethnic tensions and the dangers of political marginalization. The path forward requires more than just military peace. It demands a genuine commitment to reconciliation, inclusive political processes, and a reimagining of national identity that recognizes the dignity and rights of all Ethiopian ethnic groups. As Ethiopia moves forward, the lessons of the Tigray War must not be forgotten. They serve as a critical reminder of the importance of dialogue, mutual understanding, and the continuous work required to maintain social and political harmony in a diverse and complex nation.